I was like, I'll take that challenge.
As he's spinning, spin, young man. Vince Carter.
Thank you guys for having me here.
Let's get it.
What's up, guys? Back at it again with another episode of the Go-Getters Show, brought to you by AFC Fitness in Philadelphia, powered by Sturdy Bros Productions. Here with my guy, Nate. How we feeling today?
Feeling good. Got a nice holiday weekend ahead of us, but before that, get to hop on the pod and talk some sports.
Yeah, man. It's always special when busy people take the time out of their day to come on the pod. So without further ado, Adam Breneman, thanks for coming on. And how you feeling today?
Appreciate you guys having me on. It's Memorial Day weekend. You guys have big plans this weekend? Jersey Shore?
So we got our Jersey Shore clinic.
Okay. So
Basketball.
you're working?
Yes, sir.
That's the way it should
Always
be.
Saturday morning, and then we hopefully get nice weather, be able to
Everyone will be out partying. They'll be drunk, and you guys will be making money. And
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
try to tie it together, the work and the pleasure. So let's get right into it. We were chopping it up beforehand and kind of everything you have going on. But one of the biggest things right now is the NIL space, the transfer portal, and you're building the college sports company, which helps NIL collectives and athletes create their brands and create additional streams of revenue. So talk about what you got going on with that. I think the audience will get a lot out of that.
Yeah, I mean, the NIL space has changed so much. So a few things. I first of all saw myself the power of athlete-driven content. I mean, you guys have seen it. I've seen how it changed my life. If I would have told years ago, if I would have told James Franklin or Bill O'Brien in 2015 that I wanted to start a podcast, they would have laughed me out of the damn room, right? It would have been like, what do you mean you're going to start a podcast? You're playing football. That's all you're going to do. Now, every player wants to have their own show. They all do their own content. They all have NIL deals. So the times have changed, and I saw that. And then I also saw just the changing nature of NIL dollars and donor dollars in college sports. NIL started with just donors writing checks to NIL collectives to pay the players. It started with these donors saying, hey, here's $1 million. Go build a great team at Baylor basketball. Go build a great team at any school around the country. And that was good for year one or two because these donors thought it was a way to like improve the team to actually win. But the thing that happens is when the team doesn't actually win the championship and then they go back, it's all good when you give $1 million year one. Then the donors get asked to give it again in year two. They're like, okay, I'll give you another $1 million. Then year three, they're like, winning another $1 million. Like, you just went 2-4 last year. I'm not giving you another $1 million. So this thing called donor fatigue started to set in. So we started to put together like, okay, how can donors and brands and businesses actually get return on their NIL spend of giving money to these programs? So and then on top of that, the schools and the collectives had to find a way to drive more revenue. They needed more money to pay these players. So we put all that together and started the college sports company, which we build these athlete-driven media networks. We use the athletes on campus as the talent hosting the shows and former athletes as the talent. And we build an audience at these schools. And then we go to the donors, the businesses, the local brands, and say, come sponsor. This time, your $1 million isn't for nothing. You actually get return on your $1 million.
Right.
You'll be the keynote sponsor. All the players are wearing your gear on campus. Like, we can actually give these deliverables back, and it increases the money that goes to the players for the schools. So it kind of solves all those issues. And the best part that I like the most is the athletes get to build their brands and do what and do what's fun. It's really cool for me. Like, we at Penn State, one of the hosts of our Penn State players only podcast called The Lion's Den, first one ever at Penn State that were the players hosted the show, left for the NFL, or maybe he transferred. But it was cool because like every player on the team wanted to then be the replacement host and actually be the host of the show. So it's been cool. It's been successful. We've raised a bunch of venture capital. That's kind of our, of what I'm involved in, the venture-backed business where we've raised investment money and are trying to scale that thing to a pretty big operation.
That's awesome. So obviously building the business is hard. Who has helped you along the way kind of build it? Do you have a right-hand guy? Like, who has helped you along the way into building all these companies? At
College Sports Co., I'm a co-founder. My other co-founder is Porter Grieve, who's the CEO. Andrew Spano is our CFO. So it's a team, right? That's not an operation that I'm like the only owner of, which is strategic. I mean, number one, it takes a village to build something like that.
For sure.
If it's going to get to the scale we want it to, it takes multiple people who are good at different things. Porter's a good operator and great at raising money. Andrew Spano, the CFO, is great with the numbers and the deals and the contracts and making sure we're not getting sued and all that kind of stuff. My value is more on the high level talent acquisition, working with the athletes, brand building, all that kind of stuff. So there's a great team. We have some great employees. We've hired a bunch of guys. Some of my former teammates we hired, which has been really fun. But there's a lot of good people around me. That's one thing that I did really early on with College Sports Co. with my own media and content. I mean, from a pretty much day one, I started to hire a team. I knew that content was never the only thing I wanted to do, so I couldn't be like a full-time content creator. Right. So I invested early in full-time employees and said, like, I'm gonna pay guys from day one. I hired Noah Stauffer, who works for me, been my kind of right-hand guy for a long time now, for a few years. I don't even know what his title is. He's kind of a COO, chief of staff, head of brand, like
Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army knife. He does everything. He's involved in everything. I think he was texting you guys. Like, he's involved from brand deal negotiation to travel to what podcast should we go on to overseeing the content to what's the copy on the Instagram post. Like, does everything and oversees the team that does it. We have a great team. I have a full-time video editor who works for me. I have a graphic designer. I have now a team of agents that work on marketing deals and brand deals. So it's taken a village, and I definitely have lost some profit in order to do that. But my vision and my belief is that ultimately I can do more and make more and achieve more if I have those people with me, and it's fun to do it with other people.
For sure. Yeah, it's always more fun when you build with other people. So Nate and I started together like 3 years ago, and we're building a team around us now. So it's great to see like another business owner talk about that, like investing in people, because I think people are the ultimate unlock. Like, you can't do everything yourself. It's the saying, you'd rather own 20% of $1 million business than 100% of $100,000 business, right? So I want to dive a little bit deeper into helping athletes become creators and entrepreneurs, because I think a lot of people struggle with retirement. I know I did. I'm sure you probably did. So I think you're providing a great outlet for these athletes and players to build their brands while they're still playing and give them a path like post-career. So I want to talk a little bit about your struggles maybe with retirement, and then how you think that's impacted all these other football players and helping them with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough when I stopped playing. I thought I was going to play for a long time, and I was dealing with injuries throughout my whole career. I think the one thing that helped me a little bit is there were always things I wanted to do other than just play football. I always had other goals and ambitions and dreams that I had. And at times, I do think that's frowned upon a little bit in the football space, maybe in the basketball space too. If you're a football player who's trying to make it to the league or making your career, but you also have interests outside of football, people can say, well, you're not a football guy. You're not you don't love ball enough. You care too much about other things. Yeah. I think there's balance like anything in life, but I always cared about other stuff. I always knew I wanted to be in business, or I used to be interested in politics a bunch. Like, there were other things I cared about and wanted to make an impact on. So when that transition happened for me, I just went all in almost in an unhealthy way. I remember when I retired from football. I mean, I retired a month before the draft. By this point, I've told that story a bunch. I'm happy to dive into it more, but I retired a month before the draft. I was at the NFL Combine, at the Senior Bowl, and had struggles with my left knee and my physicals, and ended up retiring. I didn't even really mourn the fact that I was retiring. I just kind of did the next thing and went all in on it and I told myself, and still to this day, this is a goal of mine, is that, I want to be just as successful outside of football than I would have been if I was in the NFL. And I think a bunch of my teammates and close friends that made a bunch of money in the NFL, I'm very happy for them. But it is a driver for me that, like, hey, if they did it when they were in their early 20s in the NFL, I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. And I think, listen, I don't know if that's the healthiest mindset to have, but I do know that I've always been ambitious and wanting to achieve big things and make an impact. And I think part of it is just believing that I have the skill set to do it. But also just comes, I think, from that kind of adversity, the ups and downs of my career, and knowing and tasting a lot of success when I was at the top of my football career, and tasting what it feels like at the very bottom. And I don't like the feeling at the very bottom, and feeling at the top's a lot better.
Yeah, no, it seems like you have no regrets. So what was that feeling when the doctors said there's no solution for you to continue playing football? Because for me, I had a couple injuries in college as well, but I was building my training brand. I was building my personal brand. So kind of seems like we're similar in that aspect, where we knew the ball or football would stop bouncing at some point. So what was that moment like? And it seems like you bounced back quickly, which I commend you for. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, when I when I finally had to make that decision, and it wasn't really even a decision. It was just a matter of like when I actually told people about it. When I realized I couldn't play anymore, it was tough. It was tough because I think the biggest thing, man, I'll be honest, I was okay with it. I had accepted it. I knew that my left knee was bad, and it was just kind of the cards you dealt. You can't change the cards you dealt. It's how you play the hand. The hardest part for me, I think, was the people around me. And there's so many people that come along with you on the journey. Your family. I think about my brother and my sister, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my friends that get to be part of this journey of when you're a 5-star recruit and going on all those campus visits and the pride that your family has when they're in the stands. And I think one of the hardest things for me was that, my dad never gets to have a son who played in the NFL, that my mom never gets to go be, that my brother never gets to go hang out in the NFL locker room. My high school coach who invested so much never got to say that Adam Breneman was an all-pro. I struggle with that more than anything else. Almost a feeling of guilt and like I let people down. And they did a great job, those people, of making sure that they knew that, hey, they didn't care, But I think that was the hardest part because I wanted really badly for them to experience all that. I was okay. I knew I was going to be okay, but I also knew that no matter what I do the rest of my life, probably nothing's as cool for, my family as me playing 15 years in the NFL. But like I said, it is what it is. And it's not the cards you dealt. It's how you play the hand and it's how you respond to adversity. One of the only guarantees in life is that bad shit's going to happen. And it's all about how you respond to it. It's almost cynical to this point. Like I say it all the time. I said it to my girlfriend the other day. I was like, well, things have been really good for me for like 2 years. I'm like, something bad's gonna happen. Yeah. And she's like, why would you say that? I'm like, well, it's just the truth. Like, It's not always going to be good all the time. I'm going to do a bad deal. I'm going to get screwed by something's going to happen. And it's just all about how you respond to it.
For sure. Let's talk about your football career a little bit. I know you briefly just touched on it, but talk about your time at Penn State, what it was like being the #1 tight end recruit out of high school, stuff like that. And then talk about why you transferred to UMass and talk about that.
And real quick, did you come in with Paterno or was it right after he left?
Yeah, so I was recruited by Paterno.
Okay.
I got recruited. I mean, you guys know the Penn State scandal, the Sandusky scandal at Penn State. I was recruited during all of that, so it was a chaotic time. I mean, I could tell you stories for days about that whole thing. But I was a kid, I was 16 years old going through that whole Penn State scandal. I was a hometown kid from Harrisburg. I actually went through my recruiting process, had offers from basically every school in the country, and would tell everybody I'm not going to go to Penn State because I didn't want to be the kid that grew up an hour away and goes to the hometown school. I wanted to go to like Stanford or Oregon or USC or Florida, like one of those schools.
It's hard after you see that whiteout. It's
exactly.
Hard to say no.
So then I get recruited by Joe Paterno. I actually got recruited. I was getting recruited by Mike McQueary, who was one of the big names in that whole scandal. He was the wide receivers coach at Penn State at the time, if you remember the name. He ended up getting fired or something, but he was one of the guys who was kind of in the court cases for that whole thing. He was recruiting me. I remember when the whole scandal broke. I was not yet committed. I was still in high school. I remember after a high school game seeing the news on TV of like the Jerry Sandusky scandal at Penn State, bad stuff happened at Penn State, and like the future looks unknown. Mike McQueary, who was a coach at the time, not yet fired, called me and he's like, "Hey, Adam, you may see the news." He's like, 24-hour news cycle. It's all going to blow over. Boy, was he wrong. Crazy. Boy, was he wrong. And then I remember I called him like 4 days later and his phone was it was like beep, beep, beep. The number you're trying to call has been disconnected. Haven't talked to him since.
Oh my gosh.
But so I got recruited by Joe Pa's staff. Joe Pa obviously gets fired. Bill O'Brien comes in, and when Bill O'Brien came in is when I committed to Penn State. Bill O'Brien had just coached Gronk and Hernandez in the Super Bowl, Tom Brady, in the Super Bowl they lost that year, but Bill O'Brien was awesome, and he's the reason I went to Penn State. And then, 3 months after I committed, the NCAA announces crazy sanctions against Penn State. So they announced that Penn State, you went to Penn State. Penn State can't play in bowl games. They lose all their scholarships. It's like the worst sanctions in history of the NCAA, one of the worst, other than the death penalty by the NCAA. And I mean, everyone's like, well, you can't go to Penn State now. Like people said, you guys are young. How old are you guys?
24.
25.
Yeah, you guys are young now. I'm 30. So
That's not old though.
I know, but I'm referring to how much you may remember about.
Yeah,
the
I
Penn
was
State
there.
scandal.
I was there 2018, 19.
Yeah, so you kind of after
My
the
brother was there a
sanctions
couple years
left.
before me.
Yeah.
So right after the sanctions.
But people said that when those sanctions came out, people said Penn State wouldn't compete with Temple for like 10 years.
Jeez.
And people thought the program was done. If you
Isn't
go
Temple, one of the worst programs. Like,
terrible.
In the country? Yeah.
If you go look at what people were tweeting, the media, if you want to call them that, after the Penn State sanctions came out in 2013, 2012, people said like Penn State won't be good for a decade. They should shut the program down. And then they won the Big Ten championship in 2016. But anyway, a lot of conversations, a lot of ups and downs, and ended up still going to Penn State. One great thing Bill O'Brien did, and I learned a lesson from this during the Penn State scandal when the sanctions came out. Bill O'Brien, all he cared about, he was trying to make sure we stayed committed. I was already committed. Christian Hackenberg was committed. We had a great class that was going to Penn State. Sanctions come out. They're terrible sanctions. And we're all now thinking about leaving and not going to Penn State. And all the media is telling us, not like all our friends and family, are, you can't go to Penn State. They're going to be terrible. Bill O'Brien always said during that process, he said, just come meet with me in person. He was like, whatever you do, talk to whoever you want, but don't make a decision until you come to campus and we sit down and talk about it. And that's what happened. We waited to make a decision, went to visit Bill O'Brien in person, sat in the team meeting room. It was my family, Christian Hackenberg's family, Garrett Sickles' family, all these great players at Penn State. Some other guys were there too, like who's the wide receiver from Notre Dame? I'm forgetting his name now.
Currently,
Will Fuller, who played in the NFL. He was there. He ended up decommitting.
Was it Allen Robinson or he was a couple years after?
He was a year before.
Oh, year before.
But we all went there, met with Bill O'Brien, and decided, and after that meeting, to stay at Penn State. And I think about that a lot. If we wouldn't have met with him in person, we wouldn't have gone to Penn State. We probably would have left. And the power of having face-to-face hard conversations. And I think about now in business, like when you're doing deals, when you're like, nothing beats sitting down in person and talking it out and like where you can feel the emotion and feel the chemistry with somebody. So that was an important time. And if it wasn't for that in-person meeting with Bill O'Brien, I wouldn't have gone to Penn State. So
what did he say?
A lot. I mean, we sat there in the team meeting room again. I mean, this is a terrible time at Penn State. I mean, there's a national news. I mean, you guys remember this was a worldwide news story. The Penn State scandal. It was every country in the world was talking about it. It was CNN, Fox News, every day was talking about this. And Bill O'Brien just said a few things. He knew we were hurt, but I also knew, and this is his first year on the job. I mean, he had just gotten the job at this point, and he said to us a couple of things. He said the most important piece of this is that you get a chance to do something that's bigger than just play football and bigger than yourselves. He was like, you guys clearly love Penn State, and you get a chance now, if you come here, to give a lot of hope to a community that needs a lot of hope right now. He's like, obviously, like a lot of bad things happen at Penn State, but the people on campus now have nothing to do with what happened at Penn State, as bad as it was. And I'll never forget him saying, if you come to Penn State right now, you'll be a legend here forever. And he kept talking about how it's bigger than just you. This is bigger than just Adam Breneman. It's bigger than just Penn State. It's about doing more than that. The other thing he kind of kept saying, and this is true, he kept saying, screw the bowl games, screw everything else. If we play on national television, which we still could, this is still Penn State. Like, you're going to get exposure. Everyone will see who you are. Because of the scholarship limitations, you get a chance to play earlier. I ended up starting as a freshman because they have less players because of the NCAA sanctions. So we said, let's do it. And it was a tough decision, but once you thought about that, and I love Penn State and that community, and I saw what was happening with the mainstream media and what people were saying about Penn State, and I knew I wanted to be part of something bigger than myself. And it's funny, Bill O'Brien did not lie. We still go back. I'll go back to Penn State games with some of my friends, and you got to remember, I mean, I ended up transferring from Penn State. My career at Penn State was anything but legendary. I had 3 touchdown catches in my whole career at Penn State.
You still hold the record for a long time.
Still hold a record, yeah. That's longest touchdown by time in Penn State.
68 yards.
But when I go back to Penn State and I walk through the stadium, the tailgate lots, it is constant fans saying, Adam, and what they say is, Adam, thank you for coming to Penn State, or thank you for what you did. Christian Hackenberg gets it. Like, it is everywhere we go. People say that. I remember I was at UMass when I transferred, and I was like a week into my time at UMass. I mean, I might have been during the season, and I got back to my locker one day, And I go back to my locker, and there's like a pile of mail in my locker. And I was like, I said to our equipment manager, I'm like, what's up with all this mail? He's like, oh, we just realized like this mail has been in a different room. It's been piling up over the last 2 months. So here it is. And I look at the mail. I literally have like 50 handwritten notes from just random Penn State fans saying, thank you for what you did for Penn State, for coming here. You helped save the program. There's a lot of people that played a big role in it. Christian Ackenberg, Michael Mowdy, Bill O'Brien, as I mentioned, Coach Franklin coming in on kind of the second wave there. But of all the things I've done in my life, I think what we did at Penn State and the fact that I got to play a very small part in helping hold that place together is probably what I'm most proud of.
It's awesome. It sucks that you guys had to suffer the consequences for something that had nothing to do with you. But
and then I transferred in 2016 and they win the Big Ten championship.
Man,
but it's cool. I'll say this. So I transferred to UMass 2016. That was my first year at UMass. I had a great All-American season. It was time. I was dealing with knee injuries. Mike Gesicki had come in, who's one of my close friends. So I left and kind of got a fresh start after all my injuries. But when Penn State won the Big Ten championship, I was watching the game. I was at UMass, and I get a text from Bill O'Brien, who was not there. He was the head coach of the Texans. Yeah. But I got a text from Bill O'Brien, and he said, "Hey, I know you're not on the team, but just know that if you wouldn't have gone to Penn State, they wouldn't have won the Big Ten championship." And it was a cool moment. Just like, I'm sure he sent it to a few people, but Bill O'Brien's a good guy, and it was cool that he did that.
That's awesome.
The only thing I think of when I hear Mike Gesicki's name is him grittying after he scores the touchdown.
Gritting. Yeah, we have a similar story. Like in college, we had 3 or 4 different coaches in 4 years, and it's like the coaches always said to us, "You guys are going to be the beginning that builds something special." But we didn't win much in college, so it was very tough for us.
Yeah, it was tough, but it's how you respond.
It is what it is, how you respond. So
coaching changes happen so much now in every sport.
Yeah.
I always tell recruits, you almost like can't even go somewhere for a coach because you just don't even know.
Yeah.
And then you deal with transferring and the value. Like there is value in transferring to different schools, but there's also value in sticking it out and the sense you get. So many kids that transfer like 4 different schools, they're not an alumni of anywhere.
Yeah.
They don't ever get their degree. Where do you go back to for like homecoming? You know, like
that's a really good point.
Like no one really claims you as theirs.
Yeah.
So I think there is value sometimes in like sticking it out and having some perseverance and being a guy. Like there's so many guys who maybe I played with at Penn State who never really capitalized on their playing career, but because they graduated from Penn State and were there for 4 years, have had so many career opportunities because of it.
Yeah,
we talk about transferring all the time. Like we see so many kids, even in high school, they're transferring to like 4 different charter schools.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's because they're not good enough.
Yeah.
And they're just looking for, a better opportunity. But in reality, if you just stick it out there, you're most likely going to have a better career and you're going to learn something from it as well.
Yeah.
So there's a fine balance. When you're a top recruit and you can go make $1 million if you transfer, obviously it's best to go. But in terms of like actually building yourself up, sometimes
and the transfer piece right now is tough for the athletes because there's no contracts, because everyone refuses to call college athletes what they really are, the dirty word of employees, professionals. Yeah. They refuse to call them an employee or a pro. There's no contracts, which means players can transfer whenever they want. But the issue for the players and the dilemma they face is that they're worth more when they transfer than if they stay at their current school.
Yeah.
So you think about a guy like Kenny Pickett, who was the first-round pick, played in Philadelphia last year. Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, went to Pitt. He made like $100,000 his final year at Pitt. If he would have hit the portal, he's immediately worth like $2 million. But he stays at Pitt and he's only making $100,000. That's the dilemma the guys have. I don't even blame the guy. If I was choosing between $100,000 and $2 million, I don't give a shit what school I'm at. I would have transferred.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you.
Sure.
I would have gotten the money because I'm pretty like you don't know how long you're going to play.
Yeah.
So, that is part of the issue. There's no contracts that hold these guys into different places. So I think like anything, when you correct something that's been wrong for a long time, you have a tendency to overcorrect it. I think we've overcorrected to the side of the players, where now I think that you have to correct it back to there needs to be some kind of contractual obligation the players have, just like coaches. Coaches can leave whenever they want, yes, but there's buyouts Like if someone can't just come hire James Franklin right now, they got to pay like a $12 million buyout to hire him, or he's got to pay it.
Right.
Players don't have that, and I think they should. Yes, players should make NIL money. Yes, they should be able to transfer, but they should also be held to if they're making $500,000 a year, there should be a contract, and you should have to do a certain amount of things, perform a certain way. They should be able to cut you if you don't play well. Like if you want to be a pro, it's time to be a pro.
Yeah. No, we see it a lot. We know some agents, and there's a lot of times kids don't even get paid out their money.
Yeah.
So, it's a dilemma that pretty much every sports faces.
Yeah, I think to fix like the 4-year transfers and stuff like that, I think definitely like multi-year contracts would be a big thing. Incentives, like you have to get a certain amount of yards, kind of like it's in
games played
in the NFL. You interview all the top people in this space. I mean, you had Sharon Moore on your podcast, Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
What are they saying about this current landscape? Because in basketball, all the top coaches retired. Jay Wright, Krzyzewski, who else? Roy Williams from UNC. So I feel like I didn't see that same shift from college football, or maybe I'm not as tapped into it, but what are they saying about this?
I think the great coaches find opportunity in everything. There's the old saying, like, opportunity is nowhere or opportunity is now here. Just depends on how you read it. It's spelled the same exact way. And I think the great ones, you think about Dan Lanning at Oregon and Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame and James Franklin at Penn State, Kirby Smart, all those guys. No matter what they think about NIL, they found a way to take advantage of it. And they found a way that, like, you either adapt or you die. And there is a new set of circumstances. So you either complain about it, and you look at guys like a guy like Dabo Swinney at Clemson. Clemson didn't adapt. They were kind of had, they resisted the change and struggled. And now they're starting to adapt a little bit. NIL is getting better. They're using the portal. I mean, Dabo didn't take any transfers for like a couple of years. So I think the coaches who have adapted to it and taken advantage of it have been really successful. That's what the great ones do. And I've seen that, whether it's head coaches, CEOs, entrepreneurs, when there's a change in something, instead of sitting there and complaining about, oh, it's going to make it more difficult, they look at it and say, how can I be the first mover to take advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah.
And those guys did it. And if you ask them about NIL, and I have, on and off the record, they never complain. They say, here's the rules. Here's what we got, and here's how we're taking advantage of it for the best in the best way for Penn State, the best way for Notre Dame. So it's definitely chaotic. I'm sure when coaches go to sleep at night, they wish that they weren't dealing with it as much as they are. I think if there's one thing all the coaches want, they just want a level set of rules of what's happening. Part of the issue in NIL is you have the state legislation. The NCAA is toothless and spineless and can't legislate or oversee anything. They suck. They'll be out soon anyway. You have the conferences who like aren't really in charge, but kind of in charge of the whole thing. And no one really knows what are the rules. That's the one thing I think the coaches want. Like Ohio State should have to play by the same rules Penn State does.
Right.
But there's different state laws in Ohio versus Pennsylvania. So there needs to be some kind of federal legislation or some governing body that comes in and kind of makes this one level playing field for everyone.
How did the NCAA get away with it for so long? Like, how does that, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like, if something's so corrupt for so long, I guess like you could argue like U.S. government people say is corrupt. Like, how did the NCAA get away with it so long?
I don't know enough about kind of the history of the NCAA. I dealt with the NCAA a lot when I left Arizona State. I was a tight ends coach there for 2 years. Our whole coaching staff got fired in the middle of a scandal, a recruiting scandal with the NCAA. The NCAA just is like such a bureaucratic, slow-moving, the least innovative organization you can possibly imagine. And I think half the time they're just worried about getting sued like that. And I feel for them. Like, it's not an easy business to be in. No matter what you do, you're going to get sued by somebody. Schools hate you. The players don't like you. So I think they just haven't been able to legislate. And I think there's so much to govern in college sports. Think about the coaches and the recruiting rules and the timelines, all that kind of stuff that it's tough. And I think the real issue here is that the major sports, football and men's basketball, women's basketball probably now too, maybe baseball, maybe wrestling in some places, but like the real revenue driving sports for schools should not be governed by the NCAA. If you said to me, who's in charge of college basketball, who is in charge of college basketball? Like who's the
Power 5 conferences? Well, I was going to say, so is the solution just to get rid of the NCAA altogether and just start a new professional sports league?
Yes. So that's what I'm getting to. Yeah. Basically, in sports in college right now, the revenue driving ones: football, men's basketball, women's basketball, maybe baseball and wrestling, maybe, probably not. They should not be governed by an organization that also has to govern all the non-revenue producing sports. If you said to me, Adam, who's the number one guy in charge of college football? I don't even know who I'd say. Maybe Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, probably like the most powerful guy in college sports. Maybe the Big Ten commissioner, maybe the president of the NCAA, Charlie Baker. But Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, he might be in charge of college football, but he's also in charge of women's lacrosse and swimming and diving and wrestling and baseball and field, like all these sports. So there's no one who actually has the best interests of football in mind, the best interests of men's basketball. The person in charge of football should not also be in charge of men's basketball and women's basketball. It just shouldn't happen. There should be someone who's in charge of college football. So I think what will happen is we'll see the power conferences break off, and we'll see a commissioner of college football who's actually in charge of governing, legislating, and overseeing college football. Same thing with men's basketball. I think that is the next step, because right now there is no true entity or person who's in charge, who sets the vision, who holds people accountable, and who can actually figure out what's in the best interest of that sport. Because what's in the best interest of football is not in the best interest all the time of basketball. So
right. So essentially a Roger Goodell, Adam Silver of.
Yes.
Who makes that happen though? Like people talk about
the
like
conferences.
The conferences just
conferences would have to do it.
Come together.
Conferences are the ones, like I just said, Greg Sankey is the one in charge of this SEC, and I think that they should probably want to have a commissioner of college football. I don't think they want to have some kind of clear direction, level playing field.
Yeah,
that's the SEC wants to be competing equally with the Big Ten. The ACC wants it to be equal right now. Like think about it, you have the college football playoff. Well, the SEC plays one less conference game than the Big Ten. So they always compare records at the end of the year. But the Big Ten plays one harder game than the SEC. The SEC, you always see in the middle of the season, like Alabama plays like Mercer in week 10. Because the SEC doesn't put a conference game in that. So if the Big Ten and SEC are competing, then there should be an equal amount of games they're playing that are difficult. That's just like the NFL. The NFL, you play a certain amount of division games. You get, no matter what conference or division you're in, it's all equal. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into CBS analysts, right?
Yeah.
So what's it like going from playing to then making that transition to coaching and analyzing the game? Because it's almost two different arts. I think a lot of people think you can go from being a player to a coach, youngest high major coach in history, right?
Yeah.
Or at the time.
Yeah, at the time. Yeah.
At under Herm Edwards. So yeah, talk about the transition and how you were able to adapt, because it seems like it was pretty natural for you, but just going from playing to then coaching and analyzing the game.
Yeah. I always loved being around football. Like I told you, there's always things I wanted to do outside of it, but I knew when I stopped playing and stopped coaching, I knew that I had a really unique perspective on football because I had been a 5-star recruit. I had transferred. I was an All-American at 2 different schools. I went through the draft process. I coached, and like you said, was a position coach at a Power 4 school with Herm Edwards and Marvin Lewis and Antonio Pierce, all these great coaches. So I had all this experience, and I was like 25 years old. So I was like, man, I could really talk about this game at a high level that most people don't have the experience to talk about. I can talk about it on, here's how a coach is looking at this. Here's how a player looks at this. Here's how this works. I kind of I could peel the curtain back a little bit. I started posting TikTok videos about football. That's kind of how it all started. I was listening to Gary Vee. We mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk. And Gary Vee was talking about kind of like his typical spiel about how no matter what you're doing, you should be posting content. So I was just like, I'm going to start making videos. And I made a video. The first one of the first ones I made was the story of how I kind of started it. I think the video was like, I was months away from making millions in the NFL, but then I retired. Here's the story. I wake up, it has like 10 million views, whatever. So I was like, all right, I'm going to start making TikTok videos. So it started with that, with just making content about football on social media, talking about my career, my story. TikTok's changed a lot since then. You used to be able to post a video on TikTok and got
blow up
10 million views every time. Now it's like, it's hard to get 10,000 views on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's changed a ton. But every opportunity I've had since then has come from content, like every single one, whether it's business, broadcasting, as you mentioned, brand deals, anything. Everyone always starts with, oh, I've seen your content. I see your Instagram. I see your TikTok. And that's kind of the start of the conversation. So I've seen the power of content. And now I've started to branch out just from talking about football to talking about business and life and doing podcasts like this. I think football will always kind of be a core piece of what I do. I do a lot of sports betting stuff on football as well, which I really enjoy. But you mentioned CBS, and I call games on TV on Saturdays, which is fun. I mean, it's live television. It's kind of the closest thing you get to your heart racing, and like when they count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're on national TV, the closest thing you get to like playing and being on the sideline. So I enjoy the broadcasting a lot. It's fun, keeps me close to the game. You get to travel, be with the coaches, meet with the coaches, and watch some great football. So I really enjoy it. I'm excited to keep building upon it, and I've seen again firsthand how the content drives everything.
Is broadcasting something you practice, or you just wing it? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, you definitely practice in the sense. I don't practice as much.
Prepare.
But I prepare a lot, and then I have a coach, a broadcasting coach, who works with me on. We watch the film, just like you never like to watch yourself. You know that like if you give a speech, no one ever, or at least me, I don't love to like rewatch my whole speech because I'm like, even if it was good, I'm like, oh, that sucked. I didn't like that.
This guy watches me talk all day. He edits all my videos.
Yeah, no,
I just spoke at my elementary school last week, and he took a couple videos. I don't even want to watch it back.
Yeah, so because you're like embarrassed a little bit. But the only way to get better is to watch the film. So I have a coach, Jill Montgomery, one of the best in the game. She's awesome. She used to be a broadcaster and now works with big time broadcasters all over the country. And every week we watch my game, and she's very honest about her feedback on some
Very
of it.
straightforward.
Yeah, but she gives like points. Again, it's not practicing, but she'll help me prepare. She'll help, give me some advice on what to use, what not to use, filler words, slowing down. Some of the things that I'll just tell you, like some of the things she works with me on, and I should really be doing it now on a podcast too, but you kind of get in conversational mindset, but especially on live television, is she talks a lot about the power of a pause and just pausing when you talk. And you don't need to fill it with like and that a lot of times you can be more dramatic and powerful when you speak if you just pause when you make a big point. And we feel like we always have to fill that open air. And I say like a lot when I'm doing the podcast setting. So I'm trying to cut that out. I probably did it 10 million times a day. The best thing to do is watch the transcript or read the transcript of your podcast.
See how many likes
and you'll see how many likes and ums and all that stuff. Like, oh, wow. Or like a Zoom call. The other thing is, especially on TV, you're on live television. You don't have time to talk like this. So you got to be concise in what you're saying. So we talk a lot on television about word economy, which basically means don't say in 10 words what you can say in 3 words. Be concise. If you say too much, there'll be times where Jill, my coach, will say, you said something really good right there, but you said so much so fast that you didn't even give the viewer time to digest what you said. Right. But it was a great point. So a lot of times saying less is actually saying more.
So is she someone you found on your own, or does CBS provide that for you?
My agent works with her. So my agent, who does my broadcasting stuff, kind of recommended. I kind of talk about putting in the work. I wanted to do it. I was broadcasting year one, and I knew I wanted to be good. If I want to do it, I don't want to suck at it. So, and no one really tells you how to be a broadcaster. I didn't go to school for it. When you're an analyst, like some of the play-by-play guys go to school to be play-by-play guys. As an analyst, you just play it and now you talk about the game. But there's an art to it. There's definitely good analysts and bad analysts on TV. So no one teaches you how to do it. So I said, is there anyone that can coach me how to do this? And I met with her, and we watched my first tape, and she said, you're not very good, but we're going to get you to be good. And I definitely come a long way since then. There's some great broadcasters out there, and I hope to do bigger and bigger games. But she is just working with a coach has given me a lot more confidence when I go on live TV, because you can't fake live television. There's no editing. There's no cutting stuff out. There's no second take. You're on live TV.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you were on live TV? Were you nervous?
Oh, yeah. Was I nervous? Yeah. I used to get so nervous for live TV. I don't really get nervous anymore. I've done 2 full seasons, 2.5 of live television, national TV games, and I still get like butterflies, but I used to get really nervous. When you're on TV, every young analyst gets nervous for the beginning part of the broadcast, because you think about when you're calling a game on TV or what, you don't actually see the broadcasters at all, other than the very beginning when they do the whole they hold the microphone. They're like, "Welcome into the broadcast booth. I'm Joe Buck alongside Troy Aikman." They talk about the game. So like everyone, I used to get so nervous for that part because you're on camera. You got to have what you're going to say ready. So that was always something to get over, because when you're nervous, what do? You talk fast. You don't sound natural. And then a lot of guys too try to like script out what they're going to say. So in that beginning part, I used to know in my head what I'm going to say. Okay, when I come on camera, I'm going to say this. Here's my 3 bullet points. Memorize it so you don't mess it up.
Yeah.
But you got to think you're on live television. So there's no guarantee that my play-by-play guy asks me the question I think he's going to ask me. Or like when you script it out, you have no room to be natural and be a true analyst on live TV. So I very quickly stopped scripting out what I was going to say. And it's been much more natural now, but that's definitely the hardest. All young broadcasters get nervous for that on camera, beginning of the broadcast. What are you going to say? Is it going to sound good? They try to script it all out. You just got to be natural and let your expertise work. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably something you get better at, obviously, as you go. And
like anything,
I want to dive back into your content and your Breneman group, right? Your personal brand. You have your Twitter banner, those who control attention, control opportunity.
Yeah.
And we talked about Gary V kind of having VaynerX and then everything below it. So I'm sure a lot of people see you and maybe they just think you're a content and a personal brand guy, but you're really building all these businesses. So I guess we're kind of trying to do the same thing. Talk about your content strategy. I see you posting over 10 times a day on Instagram.
Yeah.
How have you seen different opportunities come from that? Any advice for me selfishly, like on posting? Because I know you've done a great job building your own brand.
Yeah, I could talk about this stuff all day. So I love the football stuff. I love content. The core of what I do every day, when I wake up every day, is I am working on businesses. That's what I do. I operate. I am selling. I'm working on the businesses and building things. That's what I love to do. My bio everywhere is talking ball and building brands. That's kind of what I try to do. I talk about football and I build brands and businesses. On the content piece, I have believed from the very beginning that you got to pick a strategy and you got to stick to it. Now, it doesn't mean you can't change your mind, you can't adjust it, and I have a little bit on it. But my strategy from the very beginning was that I don't know. I'm not a creative. I don't have a super creative content mind. I'm not a content creator who's like using my iPhone to make videos about follow. Here's a day in my life. Like I don't do that. So I knew that, or I believed that if we were going to be successful with content, we had to approach it with volume, because I didn't know what was good and what was bad. And I almost think sometimes the people who are like, say if a video is good or bad before they post it, like who's you to say if it's good or bad? The algorithm, which is really human beings, will tell you if it's good or bad. And so I always said, like, let's just post a bunch of content. And like, I don't care if some of it gets 2,000 views. Like that, if I cared about that, that would just be me being insecure that I don't want you to go look at my account and see I have 2,000 views. But I don't give a shit, right? Because I know that over the course of the month, I'm gonna get 15 million views, because we tested 80 pieces of content over the course, probably more over the course of the month. And so I approach it from the volume game. Let's post a lot of content. I think when you go volume, you do sacrifice a little bit of creativity. And I know there's times where my team, my video editor, Noah, wish desperately that we did one piece of content a day and could like focus all their energy on making one piece of content really good. And I'm sure there's validity in that strategy. I think that would probably work as well. It's just the strategy I chose. It was like, let's post a lot of content. And we've done it for 2 years, 2.5, 3 maybe, which isn't really that long in the grand scheme of life. So I'm going to stick to it, keep the volume of the content up. I am going to try to get more into, I made fun of the lifestyle content a little bit, but I get people a lot that say to me, why don't you document more of what you do?
I think like a day in the life would be, we try to do some of that. I think I would love to watch that. I mean,
people say that to me about it. And I'm starting to do more YouTube but trying to get more into showing my personality more than just talking about football and doing graphics and things like that. So that's probably like the next phase of content for me, is just showing more of day in the life, lifestyle, personality type content. From a business standpoint, I have a few businesses that have really focused most of my time and energy. We talked about College Sports Co., which has been awesome, and we're kind of really hitting our stride right now at College Sports Co. I have Breneman Media, which is really my personal media company. We compared it to Team Gary Vee and Gary Vaynerchuk. So Breneman Media that's where my employees live. It's my personal content, brand deals, broadcasting, College Football Academy, which is my recruiting course, speaking, anything I do that is me personally making money falls under that business, which has really grown to be a business now. We have employees, like I said, and has grown a lot. I have our Velo Media, which is a social media marketing agency. I started with my brother, Grant. My brother, Grant, is a beast, way smarter than me. The only thing he didn't get was that I'm much taller than he is. Not much taller, but a few inches taller. So we make jokes all the time. He's better looking, smarter, and so I wanted to do business with him. So what happened with that one is I was getting a lot of people reaching out to me saying, "Who does your content? We want content for ourselves." And I was also getting asked to invest in different companies, and I needed help with all that. Like, I couldn't handle all of it. Grant, again, very smart, my brother. He was working in finance in New York City at the time. He's your guys' age, 25, 26. And so I said to Grant, why don't we start a business where, one, we can do content for businesses, brands, athletes, and we can invest in companies that we think are good, and sometimes do both. Invest and do their content and work out a deal structure. And Grant, credit to him, I think we talked about it like 3 months later, left his full-time job, and we started our Velo Media. He's the CEO. We got a lot of big things going on there. We have a great list of clients. Business has grown. We have a few employees now. Grant is full-time, heads down on that business. And we complement each other well because Grant is very detail-oriented, in the weeds, operator, finance-driven, book accounting driven. I'm very much the opposite. We're very different personalities, but it works well. And there's nothing like doing it with family. It's been really rewarding, really cool. And I have high hopes for that company. And we're actually working through some things right now, trying to, even go the M&A route with some businesses. And like, we're looking at acquiring a couple of other agencies out there that are really good, just to, one, give us more capabilities, get a bigger team, and just grow the business. So that's been fun. And then I mentioned the investing piece in businesses, Breneman Ventures. Grant runs that as well. We're partners in that. I do a handful of stuff that in investing my personal money in real estate and things like that, mostly in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So spend a decent amount of time doing that kind of stuff. I really enjoy that as well, just building things and having fun with it. So yeah, it's been good. We are definitely rolling. There's a lot of moving parts. People say to me a lot, like, if you just focused on one thing, do you think you'd like be the best in the world at it? Because I actually had someone ask me, someone said to me, what's the one thing you want to be the best in the world at? And I'm like, I don't even know. I don't think about that. I just want to like operate businesses and build companies and make money and help people and hire good people and bring people along with me. I think part of it is also like knowing what you like to do. I like to do multiple different things. I like to wake up and not know what the day is going to look like and have my brother call me about our Velo Media, college sports codes that we're dealing with this. I got a podcast. I got to come here on the podcast. I'm shooting my own podcast. I love dealing with all that. And I'm sure that, listen, if I just focused on my podcast, I can make my podcast a little bit better for sure. But what actually makes you happy at the end of the day, and what do you want to do? For
sure. Well, burnout's a real thing too. So for me personally, if I'm like stuck on the same thing over and over, it's just, I get sick of it. So it's all, I mean, we're trying to do the same thing, build multiple different things, create different streams of income.
I've started recently. I just turned 30. So I have now started to realize more the value of my time. I used to say yes to everything, just like thinking I was going to miss an opportunity. I have now seen how when I say yes to something, I'm really saying no to something else as well. Or when I say no to something, I'm saying, like, when I say no to doing this business, I'm really saying yes to my current companies, right? Or when I say yes to this opportunity, like, I'm saying no a little bit to the other things I have going on.
Thanks for that. Yes, by the way.
Yeah. No. Well, this is fun. This is good. But I mean, like big commitments. I have certainly, I've certainly adjusted my mindset around that because burnout is real, and you literally can't. Like, there's power in attention and like how much attention you can put towards something. And I know I talk about all the time. A lot of times on my podcast, like, we put out trailers for the podcast where we like, it's kind of dramatic.
I see
the best quotes. Yeah. When I spend time to like work on the trailer, it does well, like, because I put effort and attention into it. But sometimes if I don't spend as much time, or my team doesn't spend as much time on it because we've got a million things going on, never performs as well. And it's like, man, the best trailer we've ever had is the one I spent a whole day working on. And it's just like, can you balance all that and still get that done is the question.
Yeah, no, I can really relate to you because we're building our basketball business, building a production company, podcast, a million things at once. And past couple of weeks, we've had 14 to 16 hour days, and Nate and I are looking at each other and like, there's not even enough hours in the day to do everything we need, but it's just plugging away day by day, building brick by brick.
What's the goal with the production company? Is it just to do it for you guys or to out? Like,
no, so it's going to be our podcast, and then we're helping different brands create content and outsourcing if podcasts want to come in here and rent the studio.
Yeah.
We're just getting up and running, so we're really excited.
That's cool.
About
you guys should talk to my brother about because we're doing similar stuff. At least.
Sure.
I mean, we're more like editors and like in-house. We're not as much like actually producing the content in person.
Yeah.
We're more like a production machine, social media management, all that kind of stuff, but growing and doing a lot. So it's cool.
Yeah, so you don't even run your own socials. You have someone just take care of it.
My personal stuff. Yeah, correct. Yeah. I mean, I'm on all of them.
But you don't post.
Like I was DMing. That was me DMing.
Yeah.
I don't post. The team. We have a. I'm thinking like we have a team Adam group chat. And I'm trying to think of. Look right now. Let's see who's in it. To see.
You put me in a group chat with a couple guys that I was communicating with.
Yeah, so that was I put you in with Noah, who I was talking Noah Salfer, who's kind of my right-hand guy, head of brand, I think is his title. And Shahan, who's my assistant, who does all like the scheduling and stuff.
Okay.
So my Team AB group chat is Connor, who is a Penn State guy who does a lot of posting. He runs my Breneman Picks account, which is my sports betting account.
Sports betting, yeah.
We have Isaac, who is a graphic designer and video editor, really good. We have Jake, who is lives in Arizona, is basically a social manager, like posts all the content. Because we're talking Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X,
like 7 different platforms.
LinkedIn, Facebook. We're also on Threads.
You on Snap too?
We not really. I only do Snap.
Yeah.
And then I think we were posting on like when TikTok was going to go down. We started posting like Lemonade or whatever. Or something.
It was something.
Yeah, one of those.
I forget, but
so then Noah and then Thomas, who's my video editor. So I mean, it's an operation there. I'm just like doing my personal content. Yeah.
That's amazing. Finding good people is definitely hard. We've been blessed to find some good people. Our guy Nick, our guy Brian, Jake, and we're building that team slowly but surely. But I want to dive into being so busy and juggling so many different businesses at once. Talk about your personal life, because for me, I struggle with this too, like getting my workouts in, finding time for my girlfriend when I'm building all these businesses. So I want to talk about your personal life, how you provide time and energy to that, and then also take care of yourself. We'll get into the Brad Kraut living with you for a couple months, because I know he did a little transformation living with you. So yeah.
I mean, I definitely have prioritized personal life more than I did before. I think I've always tried to kind of live by, if something's important to you, you'll make time for it. That's the reality. I mean, that's why people get offended when you like don't text them back, because like you're kind of saying that you're not that important to me. So I've tried to have better balance recently. I used to, I definitely work a lot. Like there's no doubt about that. I definitely am more intentional now about when I'm not working. I used to really struggle to get my mind off things, and I would like say I'm not working on a Saturday, but then like still be working a little bit. And I definitely now am more present when I'm not online. I think even people that work with me feel that. Like there's times where there used to never be a time where like if it was important, someone couldn't get a hold of me. There's times now where I put my phone down in the kitchen and like I sit on the couch and don't have my phone with me. It's not that common, but it's more common than it was before. I think my girlfriend, Allie, who I've been dating for like a year, has been a big piece of that. Just having someone who I can get away from all that chaos with. And, she's been a big part of what I'm building too. I mean, there's really not a major decision now that I make in business and anything that I'm doing that she's not part of and talking through with me. And we've had fun. I mean, I just went to Portugal for 7 days straight, and there wasn't a ton of work going on in Portugal.
That's amazing. So, I was going to ask about vacation. Like, do you take it? I'm going to Italy in a couple of weeks, so I'm a little nervous about that.
I mean, listen, I think that like I'm all for like hustling and working hard. I work hard. There's no doubt about it. But anyone who says that you can't have any kind of balance in life, just like I'm not a believer in it. I mean, I think even these, like we talk about Gary Vee a lot. Like Gary Vee talks a lot too about like how he gets 8 hours of sleep every night. And it's all about what, like, I think that I'm more productive and efficient during my 10 hours in a day than most people are if they work 20 hours a day. So like that's where you win. And it's the little things like this weekend, because I feel a little bit behind because I was away in Portugal, I'm not doing anything this weekend. I'm going to work on Saturday and Sunday probably. That doesn't mean I'm going to work like 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. I'm still do some fun stuff, but I'm going to sit down and I'll work for 6 hours probably Saturday just to like get caught up on everything. So it's sacrifice too. Like there are people who are not willing to do that. They're not willing to say I'm going to work for 6 hours on a Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. Yeah. So I think it's that. It's just balance. It's figuring it out. It's doing what's important to you. And on every phase, anything you want takes sacrifice. Whether it's your relationship, like if you want your relationship to work, you got to sacrifice something at some point. You got to sacrifice something you did before, so at times I sacrifice some time that I used to put towards business. For business, like now because of that, I also have to sacrifice time. Maybe I used to relax or a Saturday, Memorial Day weekend to work on my company if I wanted it to work. That's one of the core values at Penn State. And I frankly just say it all the time. It's so true. Like, if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to sacrifice something because you can't have everything. You can't have it all. You're gonna have to give something up if you want something.
For sure. I've struggled with it too. So
it's hard, but I think every entrepreneur goes through and finds their own balance. So let's talk about, so you're a little out of shape. Brad Kraut comes and says, you need to kick the sheets with me at 5 a.m. and cold punch. Because I remember he documents everything. Yeah. And he's a great content creator. He is. And I've been watching you from afar. This is the first time we've met, obviously. But I remember like watching you go through that struggle of like him waking you up, you being groggy, him forcing you to go on the cold plunge. Talk about that. I think it was 60 days, right? Yeah. And then have you maintained that lifestyle or? Yeah. Yeah. So Brad Kraut, the way it started is Mr. Kick the Sheets. The way it started is I got back from a work trip. This was like early 2024. And I did not feel good. I was like 270. When I was playing, I was like 250. I was like 270. Out of shape, just not impressive. I was like, I did not look good physically right now. My face was fat, and that's what happens. Yeah, face got fat. I'm like,
Danny went through the same thing.
I went through the same thing. I got hurt.
And I didn't look good, and I also knew that I was like, man, all this hard work I'm doing in work and everything, like, it's not worth it just to be fat,
it's facts,
and to like die when I'm 50. Like, it's not worth it. So I was on a bad trajectory for sure. So I knew Brad. Brad and I had become friends. Brad was going through a transition phase in his life, and he wanted to be a trainer. So that was like at that point he wanted to be a trainer. I think he's changed his mindset now a little bit. And Brad has been through the same journey himself. Brad was fat, now he's jacked. So Brad, who's like not really a trainer, but like he's a motivator. Yeah. We're on the phone one day. I think I'm actually like flying home from the trip I was on, and I'm on the phone with him, and we're talking. And I'm just like, "Why don't you come live with me and be my trainer? I'll pay you." He's like, "Oh, I'm all in." Flies out like 3 days later. Lives in my house, and he's all in. Like he is. I was kind of his first test case for like he wanted to go do it for celebrities, live with celebrities, and be their trainer. So I was kind of like not really a celebrity. He could do it with me and like, but he could at least like tell people he did my transformation. So we kicked it off and it was awesome. I mean, Brad's an awesome guy, so much energy. It was cool. We became very good friends through that process, even closer than we were before. The lifestyle was great. I felt awesome. I didn't drink. I ate only what Brad made. I mean, Brad was doing everything.
I saw him chefing up.
Brad was cooking, shopping, waking me up. So let me tell you about the morning.
Yeah, talk about the routine.
I would wake up. We wake up early, like 5:30, and he would come in my room, would wake me up. He would walk into my room. I'm still sleeping. Like he would literally. I didn't even set an alarm when Brad lived with me. He would walk into my room. He would be blasting music on his phone. I mean, this used to. I don't even know.
What time is this at?
5:30. This used to annoy the living shit out of him. I would get so mad at him in the morning because he's so loud and just like not gentle at all in the wake up process. So you're gonna die at this. He would walk into my room. He's got his shirt off, like ready to attack the day. So he'd be blasting music, and he would jump in my bed and lay beside me. And he'd be like, Adam, let's go. Time to attack the day. Wake up. And the first thing we did to start the day was breathing exercises. So he would lay in my bed beside me, and he would put on his phone the Wim Hof breathing exercises, and I would lay there, Brad laying beside me, and we would do the Wim Hof for like 3 minutes. And then we would do the Wim Hof breathing exercises, get out of bed. It's like 5 minutes later, and he'd be like, I'll meet you on the rooftop where our cold plunge was in 4 minutes. Be up there by 5:42. So I would go in the bathroom, brush my teeth, wake up a little bit. I hated the cold plunge.
This was in the winter too, right?
In the winter.
This is in Philly?
10 degrees in Philly.
I remember seeing it on Brad's story.
So I would then hop in the cold plunge with Brad, and it sucked, but it is like therapy. I bought one. I have one at my house now. I mean, I took one with me. And we would cold plunge, and then I'd go down, I would change, and he'd have breakfast ready for me.
Man.
Like a little, not breakfast, but breakfast would come after the workout. He would have a rice cake.
Rice cakes with peanut butter.
Peanut butter. You saw it, right? And peanut butter, fruit, and a pre-workout. Like, did it all for me. I mean, it was like I was gonna lose weight naturally because he was just doing everything for me. It was just out of convenience. We did the workout at City Fitness. He trained me there. Like, it was the most obnoxious scene at City Fitness. Everyone was like, "What is going on?" This guy, Brad Kraut, I'm following him around, and City Fitness in the morning in Philly. That's the gym in Philly. It's like kind of quiet. It's like not like a bodybuilding gym. Well, Brad, I'm like doing my lifts. He's like, 1, 2. And I'm like, Brad, you gotta be quiet.
He doesn't care. Yeah.
And then we would come back. He'd cook breakfast. I'd go about my work day. He would kind of do whatever. He would go work out himself. He didn't work out with me. He trained me. So then he would go work out, and he would be going all day. And then he'd come back, or he would make breakfast and put it in the fridge for me. Come back. He would cook dinner. We were going to walk at night, and it'd be like a little fruit snack, and then we go to bed and do it all over again. And
That's
it was
awesome.
definitely, I mean, 30 days in, I mean, I lost like a lot of weight. I have not stayed as light as I was then. I am nowhere close to where I was before Brad. I mean, I have maintained elements of that lifestyle. That lifestyle is hard to do if you don't have someone doing it for you. Like, but I'm still the cold plunge, still sauna like I did. I eat way better than I did before I met Brad. Work out way harder. And now I hired a different trainer when Brad left, because Brad went to live with Nick Niracina and living in LA or something or whatever. So yeah, he's having fun. But it was sad when he left. I wanted him to stay for another month.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Hilarious.
We got some quick hitters to wrap it up. So obviously next up with AB, we haven't talked about it too much. Who's been your favorite guest and who's your dream guest? Try to answer in like 15 seconds or less.
Favorite guest, I would say some of the big time coaches have been cool, like Dan Lanning at Oregon, Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, Sherman Moore at Michigan. James Franklin's always cool because I played for him. That's always a fun episode to do. Dream guest, I want to get Tom Brady on at some point. I have to. That's the dream. I'm a huge Gary Vee guy, and I've wanted to get Gary on the podcast. I've been with him a bunch, but never got it booked. Finally got it booked. I'm going June 12th in New York City to get Gary on the podcast.
That's awesome. I'll be tuned into that.
Danny's jealous.
Yeah, that's how he's a big inspiration for me. Yeah. So it's awesome. Yeah. You got a quick hitter? I'll keep going. Yeah. We always ask people, was there a book, quote, or like person that changed your life? Maybe it was like one sentence. Like when I was a kid, I was at this talk and this guy said, "Don't try, do." And it was like just 3 words that literally I was 12 years old and it still stuck with me. Is there any like one liner that stuck with you or a book that changed your life?
Yeah, the one-liner I say it a lot with our team is consistency is the differentiator, and I think in a world where there's a lot of distractions and just the people who win in the end will normally be the most consistent. The guys who just don't give up and just keep going. It's true with everything. I say it with the content. Like the one thing I'm proud of with our content is every day over the last 3 years, Christmas, Easter, New Year, like we post content every single day. And it's consistency that I think will allow us to win in the end. But I'm not a huge reader. No matter what you think about him, I really enjoyed the Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. I learned a lot about business from that book. I read it he might not even been president when I read it. I mean, that's an old book.
We'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's a good book. Just about, it talks about, it was when he was in business, about like going through his day as a entrepreneur, businessman, and learned a lot about that. So that'd be my favorite book I probably read.
Gotta check it out.
Yeah, and then to wrap it up, it's called the Go-Getters Show. So we always kind of talk about, we only want to have go-getters on, and clearly you're a go-getter. So talked about you and your brother Grant both being, he's now an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. Where does your go-getter mindset come from? Was it your parents growing up? Are they entrepreneurs? Do you think it's nature versus nurture? Interested to get your take on that.
Yeah, interesting question. I'd say my dad is a business guy, not really an entrepreneur. Always, he was an executive with MetLife for a while. I grew up in the business world. I'd say my mindset, I think a little bit you're born with. Like I know I'm kind of was born type A personality, like to do a lot of things, hard worker. I do think my parents raised me the right way, in that you have to work for everything. Nothing's given to you. No one owes you anything. I think the biggest mindset that I started to believe, and my parents did a good job implementing in me, is really that no matter what goes on, whether it's good or bad, it's your fault. If it's good, it's because you made it happen. And if it's bad, it's because you didn't do a good enough job. And when that sounds like really harsh to an extent. Some people don't like that. But when you realize it's actually pretty liberating, and like
accountability is the
accountability.
biggest unlock,
It actually like you're like, oh well, I'm in control. Like anxiety comes from people thinking they're not in control. I really think you are in control of most things, almost 99% of things. Whether it works or it doesn't, it's your fault. There's little things you can say the coach screwed you here, but like if it didn't work, like it's because you didn't make it happen. And that mindset, when you believe that, makes you work hard and makes you put in the work, because you think that there's no other reason. It's I can will this thing to happen. And I think for the good or the bad, some of my best friends, some people close to me said, I don't take no for an answer. I believe that in a lot of ways I can will things to happen. And I say it a lot to my team, and I think we can by our work make things happen.
I love that. Yeah, in my preparation for this show, I called Brad Crowd actually to
really?
say, is there anything I can ask Adam or how should I gear the episode? And he said his persistence. Just talk about his persistence and his resilience in his journey. So you just summed it up. But no, that was amazing. I really appreciate you coming on.
It's a cool show. I'm glad you guys had me on.
Yeah, and where can the people find you?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, social media at Adam Breneman. Like you said, Next Up Podcast. I have some cool episodes coming out. And appreciate you guys having me on. I love what you're doing with the basketball academy, with this podcast, the production company. Hope we can collaborate some more in the future.
Awesome. Sure. Really appreciate you guys coming on. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more episodes, and appreciate you guys as always. Peace.